remark further. Representative Dubitsky.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to talk a little bit about process. I'm not going to talk too much about the content of the bill because, frankly, I don't think most of the people in this room have actually read it. When I first came to the legislature, I came here very much wanting to work with people from both sides of the aisle and to develop policies and a budget for this state that everybody would like. And I really thought when I got here that one of the biggest problems where we just weren't talking to each other, that this side wasn't talking to that side, and the liberals weren't talking to conservatives, and a lot of people weren't talking to anybody, they were just listening to their leadership. And when I got here, unfortunately, I found out that that was really true, and that people really weren't talking to each other, and that when the minority had some good ideas, we would often scream and yell and try to get them heard, and the majority, being in the majority, having the control, very often kind of brushed us off and said, no, we don't need to listen to you. We haven't listened to you in the last 40 years, and we're not going to start now. Now, we got a couple of things passed here and there, but really didn't have any ability to push anything over the finish line, except if we said we were going to stand up and stomp our feet and scream until the wee hours of the morning, and the majority would say, all right, we don't want to sit here all night, so we can pass a couple of your bills. And then we got to this year, and the numbers are a little closer, and there's still a majority and a minority, but the pressure really is on from the people of this state to have a budget that really works for everybody. And I give the few renegades on the other side of the aisle all the credit in the world for looking out for the people of this state over party, to come and join in a budget and pass a budget that really changed the game, really moved the state in a different direction. And that budget passed both houses. That was historic. That was truly bipartisan. And what did that do? Those few on the other side who decided to vote with the minority, they changed the game. They suddenly made it clear to everybody in this chamber and everybody in this state that things could not keep going the way they were going. We had to do things differently. We had to actually talk to each other. We actually had to sit in a room and go over how to move this state in a good direction. For the first time in decades, we actually had both sides sitting in a room looking at charts and numbers and policies. It was historic. The product of that discussion is historic. And had it not been for those few on the other side who voted for the Republican budget, that never, ever would have happened. And I have to give those few all the credit in the world for changing the dialogue and changing the direction of the state. I also have to give all the credit to the leaders on both sides and the staff on both sides who spent untold hours toiling, going over these numbers and policies and trying to come up with something that was truly unique and truly bipartisan. And as they were doing that, we were all hearing little bits of it. We were hearing, well, this is in, this is out, this is changing, this number changed here and there. We would occasionally get these little summaries, little sheets. This is where it is right now. We would caucus and we would hear where it is right now. Great. We like this, we don't like that. We'd give feedback as to what we like and what we don't like. And our leaders and our staff would go back in and start negotiating. And at the same time, I'm talking to my constituents, the people who are going to be affected by this, the people who are going to do all the paying in this budget. And they keep asking me, well, what's in it? And I tell them, well, what I know at the moment, this is in, this is out, these numbers are changing. And they keep asking me, when are we going to get a document to read? When are we going to get something that we can actually sit down and go through? And I feel like a jerk. Well, we don't have a budget yet. We don't have a document. There's nothing you can look at yet. Although I represent a lot of small towns, but some of the people in my district are very adept and very sophisticated, and they want to look at the document themselves. They don't want to rely on me in the same way I don't want to rely on anybody else to tell me what's in it. So yesterday, we're waiting for this document, which is going to be close to 1,000 pages long, and it's getting 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. The Senate's going to convene at 7. We still don't have a piece of paper to read. 5 o'clock. People are asking me, where is this budget? How come I can't look at it? How am I'm asking my constituents to tell me whether or not I should vote for it, and they're saying, well, how are we going to tell you whether to vote for it or not if we haven't seen it? 7 o'clock. In comes the Senate. Still no document. 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock. People are screaming at me, where is this document? How are we going to tell you if you should vote for it or not if we don't see it? After 10 o'clock last night, finally, 881 pages shows up online. 881 pages shows up online, and I send it out to my people, and they're like, how are we supposed to read this and digest it? This is longer than Atlas Shrugged. This is like War and Peace. We're supposed to read this and tell you whether or not we like it between 10 o'clock at night and 10 o'clock in the morning? It's just not happening. So we changed this process. We changed the way we do things up until it's time to vote. And then we fall back in that same old habit of rushing things through without giving anybody an opportunity to look at it. Now, the people in this chamber probably have a decent idea of what's in it, but nobody's read it. This was put together by a staff of attorneys, and each one of us is supposed to go through it in the hours of 10 o'clock at night to 10 in the morning, and our constituents are supposed to do that? It's not happening. We have fallen back on that same bad policy, that same bad habit of rushing things through. The Hartford Courant had a editorial yesterday. What's the rush? Why are we doing this? Why is the Senate voting at 2 o'clock in the morning? Why are we voting the very next morning? Why don't we give it a little time? Give people an opportunity to read it. If it's decent, what do we have to fear if people look at it and read it? That's what we should be doing. We should be doing this openly, honestly. If there's something wrong in it, we should fix it. But why are we rushing this through? Why did we have to have the Senate vote at 2 o'clock in the morning? It's already 4 months late. What's another couple of days to give people an opportunity to read it? For that reason, I'll certainly listen to the debate, but my constituents deserve to be able to see what's in this document, to look at it, to analyze it, to talk to their friends and neighbors, to talk to me and tell me whether they like it or not. And right now, we've completely taken that opportunity away from them. Thank you, Madam Speaker.